Narcissistic parents engage in horrific boundary breaking. Narcissistic parents break boundaries. They also are boundary breaking deniers and deny that they've ever broken any boundaries or ever do. Narcissistic parents break internal boundaries, like saying your feelings are wrong or your identity's wrong or your feelings are immature. They also break external boundaries, like intruding themselves into your friendships, your work life, vacations, holidays, finances, and they will break those boundaries as well. Narcissistic parents also are boundary breaking deniers. They will never admit it. They will make you responsible for their offending you. You are just so sensitive. You know I love you. You just need to grow up. And they will never say, Jerry, son, daughter, I think I overstepped my relationship with you. I apologize. If you really want my opinion, I will wait until you ask for it. As most of you already know, they will say, what's wrong with you? You're such a child. I always have to worry about your feelings. Here goes Miss Sensitive again. You're just going to have to grow up and take it. And of course, it meaning narcissistic boundary breaking. I should be able to break your boundaries anytime I want because I'm your mother, because I'm your father. And growing up just means to take that. That's not adult life. I hope you'll like, subscribe, and comment on the videos. We comment on your comments. As children and adult children, we are situated in their lives in the way of orbiting around them to meet their emotional needs and external requests and expectations. More normal parents have to grow up just like their kids have to grow up. They slowly loosen their grip and move back and respect we have our own lives now. Or they allow the emotional umbilical cord to be cut. They operate as adults, and now we operate as adults, each having boundaries. That's what's normal. Narcissistic parents don't make this transition. There are also some other parents who don't make that transition. Alcoholic parents, narcissistic parents, neurotic parents, immature, abusive parents. They don't make that transition. They resist it. They desire enmeshment, control, and manipulation of our relationship with them. There are many boundaries which get broken between the narcissistic parent and their children and as adult children. Emotional boundaries. You're just so selfish and so crazy. I can't imagine you would feel that way. And tell me about your feelings. Oh, those are wrong. Spiritual boundaries. When are you going to come back to church with us? We have concern you're going to go to hell. And we just don't think you're doing things that God wants you to do. Spiritual boundary breaking. Physical boundary breaking. Now, I know you and your husband are not going to move that far away because you can't. You need to live around us so that we can maintain our family together. So you can't make that physical move. Or I don't think you should take that job. That's for us to decide as narcissistic parents. Mental boundaries. You know which political party is the right one, and you're on the wrong side of politics. And let us tell you that. Mental boundaries. Relationship boundaries. I don't know why you still hang out with her. I never thought you should have married her. I never could imagine why you would marry him. This is after you've been married for a while. That's a violation of boundaries. Relationship boundaries. And then there's family boundaries. Aunt Agnes agrees that you're being childish. Then our boundaries with Agnes, with parents, with ourselves in a triangle, our family boundaries are broken. Financial boundaries. Let your dad take care of buying that new car for you. Now, you have to pay for it, but let him pick out which one he thinks would be best for you. Or I know you're not thrilled about coming, but we'll pay for you to come down to Florida and spend your vacation with us. Again, they don't ask. They say, we'll provide the money, you come. But that's financial boundary breaking. Let me share some more specific horrific boundary breaking by narcissistic parents. Parentification. When we are parentified by under-functioning parents, and when narcissistic parents expect adulthood thinking, acting, and responsibilities from us as we are growing up as children, we have been parentified. They break our internal and external boundaries as children to have to meet their emotional needs, and often their adult external needs. Cooking, cleaning, taking care of other siblings, keeping the other parent happy, etc. That can happen in narcissistic families. It can happen in alcoholic families, addicted families, abusive families, toxic families, where we have to become an adult for them. We become simply an extension of our narcissistic parent. Children need boundaries too. They do need cared for, they do need supervised, they do need advised, they do need loved, but they need boundaries also. Freedom to play, freedom to socialize, freedom to make mistakes, freedom to explore, freedom to not know things so that they can learn, freedom to be silly or age-appropriate emotional life. They should have free to break things at times. And I'm not telling everybody to let your kids break everything. But what I mean is, if a kid breaks something unintentionally, they should have that freedom to do that without being shamed or punished because it may be age appropriate. And then the freedom to fall down, just to fall. And I've seen parents not accept that at all. How dare you fall down? Kids may be developing coordination and all of those things that are important for us to grow up. And again, I'm not simply talking about a permissive parent. I'm talking about the damage done by being a narcissistic parent who makes us into what they need, not what we need. We need the freedom to not manage dad's mood because he's an alcoholic. We need the freedom to not manage mom's mood because she's a borderline or narcissist. We need the freedom not to manage your younger brothers or sisters who are detached from the narcissistic parent, or to care for the golden child. All of those are boundary breaking. And if you would share that with narcissistic parents, they deny it to the hilt. Simply requiring us to enter into adult roles when we are young. Narcissistic parents violate the child's role and boundary as a child, especially when a narcissistic parent makes me the cause of everything or anything that goes wrong. They don't take responsibility, and they should never be blamed in their minds. As adults, parentification needs to stop. Let me talk about another horrific boundary breaking: privacy and autonomy. Nothing you feel, think, do is your own. As an adult, you have a right to your own feelings, your own beliefs, your own behavior, your own choices. And remember, my thoughts are not their thoughts. My feelings are not their feelings. My behavior and choices are not their behavior and choices. They have a right to want me to come down to Florida for the only time I have off from work, and let's say my wife or the family to go down and visit them. It's the only time I have for vacation. They have a right to want that. They have a right to ask you to say they would pay for it. But you have a right to not have to go, or not have to spend your vacation that way, or go down and spend your vacation being treated like a child for your whole vacation, and then you don't get rest, you don't get renewed. Then there becomes more problems in your own family. Also remember, their thoughts are not my thoughts, their feelings are not my feelings, their behavior and choices are not my behavior and choices. I am not you, and you are not me. Narcissistic parents need to eliminate your autonomy and sense of self. They wish to keep you in a perpetual state of childhood in relation to them. You can decide what you share. That's your choice as an adult. When you share it, what you share, when to keep it private. You have a right to do that as an adult. Narcissistic parents use interrogation as boundary breaking. Have you ever felt like you were in front of the prosecutor or whatever when you're with a narcissistic parent and you have a big light on you and they are just interrogating you or questioning you about everything? Because narcissistic parents enter our lives, our thoughts, and our feelings without knocking. They don't knock. Adults knock. Narcissistic parents don't. Well, Jerry, when are you going to be getting engaged? I hope that's soon. Wait a minute, we weren't even talking about my relationships. Where did that come from? There was no knocking, just walking right in. When are you going to give me some grandchildren? Well, you didn't ask me if I want to have children. You didn't ask me what my plans were. You just walk in, don't knock, don't even say why you're asking. You just barge in. And as one event I shared on the video, Jerry, don't you think you should be getting a haircut? No knocking, just walking right in. By the way, I was in my 60s and my mom was in her late 80s and barging right in and not even asking to do that. Your father and I think the side of town you're looking at a house to live in or to move to is not a good enough neighborhood. I think you should choose some other areas. No knocking, just right in. Knocking requires us to focus on our reason for requesting the information or making the statement. Knocking first gives us a choice about what to share and when. Knocking respects your personhood and your sense of self. Narcissistic parents don't knock. They don't warn. They don't ease in. They don't consider their tone. They want what they want, and they want it now. You might take a look at other relationships. Your friends should be knocking. Your coworkers should be knocking. Nobody has a right to barge into your inner thoughts, beliefs, and feelings or actions without knocking first. They require us to defend ourselves constantly because when they barge in, then we have to back up and start defending. They don't share why they're asking or arguing their point. They want us to defend our position and beliefs and feelings. And we can begin to stop to defend ourselves. We can end defending. First of all, it's not going to do any good. Second of all, it's not going to satisfy anyone. I know when someone wants to hear my reasons. They do that when they knock and when they respect me and would like to know more about something. Then I can share my reasons. That may be totally appropriate. Narcissistic parents don't do that. Narcissistic parents also punish us for growing up or changing. They even feel their boundaries are being broken because you're growing up. And I suppose in some way, they're right about that. You are changing how the relationship works and the emotional space between you and them. And so there is a change of that boundary, but you're trying to set it in a more healthy way. The last thing a narcissistic parent wants us to do is grow up or to change or self-differentiate, to become ourselves or individuate from them. They feel they're losing their supply, narcissistic supply, their family, their power, their roles, their own respect, or they feel they are doing something wrong if you do this. It then kicks in their shame. If you change, they then have their shame triggered because they think they've done something wrong for you to make these changes. Then we're going to have a whole shame attack that happens as a result. Your growing up makes them feel they are out of control, which they can't tolerate. They unconsciously feel you pulling away from the narcissistic family super self. And that's very threatening to them. Of course, they then will punish, criticize, shame, rage, diminish us, and oppose us in doing that. And that resistance we need to expect, or to walk away from, or to have greater distance from. They don't know what to do with a role-less adult child, an adult child who doesn't have their role and isn't living in their role. Being an adult is role-less. You're not playing a role anymore. If we grow up, if we self-differentiate, the narcissistic parent doesn't know what to do with someone who's not in their role. So what are some steps we can begin to take today? Work on inner bonding work, bonding with yourself. Margaret Paul has a great book on inner bonding I'd recommend. Work on your inner child work. Charles Whitfield has a great book on inner child work. There are several good books. Begin to learn to say no. It helped me to change from no to I would prefer not. I would prefer not. You can say no if you want. That's totally acceptable. No is a no. But I'd prefer not. That's not my preference. Well, are you going to do this, Jerry? No, I would prefer not. And I'm saying no, but I'm staying connected while being appropriate as an adult because I didn't want that reactive no. You always ask me to do this. No, I don't want to do it. That's reactivity. I don't want to do that. I want to stand in place, stay firm. I don't prefer to do that. Silence. I don't prefer that. You might take a look at the book by Manuel Smith. When I say no, I feel guilty. Stop defending. Stop explaining. Stop giving reasons. It is simply your choice. Do your grief and loss work. The narcissistic parent have robbed you of yourself and continue to do this even today. Grieve the loss of yourself and the loss of parental support and that support for being a healthy adult. You didn't have that. Grieve that loss and become the parent for yourself you never had. Reparent yourself. There's some good books on reparenting as well. Do that anger work. Adult children of narcissists have anger. And why wouldn't they? They may even have rage inside. They should never express that and could never express that, but always were on guard and hypervigilant for criticism, being put down, always being unaccepted and feeling unacceptable. Narcissistic parents have walked all over us. They have bequeathed their anger and rage to us, but it should always stay hidden and never be expressed or acknowledged. And again, I believe we can begin to journal our feelings about that, journal them intensely, read them aloud, and read them intensely. I've even had people go out into the middle of a field, read your letter, screaming it, read your letter intensely. Nobody has to hear it. This is for you doing your work. I do not do that with the narcissistic parent. That's where things go awry. You have to get them out of you, not change them. Recognize so many of your feelings were created years ago and continue to be pinged to this day or triggered. These are not your true feelings. These are what I call systems feelings. They are feelings which are meant to manage you in the system and in the relationship and to maintain your role in the family super self. We all partake of one self. It's not like we all have selves. We have one self. It's called the family, and you are to participate in that. You feel guilty, not because you have anything to feel guilty about, but so that you will not oppose the narcissistic parent. Ask yourself, if I didn't feel guilty, what would I feel? What would I do? What would be my behavior? What answer would I give to them if I didn't feel guilty? If I were calm, matter of fact, didn't feel guilty, how would I respond? Get support. 12-step groups. We have coaches on our website that are great. Other professionals, codependency groups. And I teach the 3 S's. Support, support, support. Find some support for you. You're not alone. Learn more about how you can manage that space between the narcissistic parent and you, whether it be emotionally by gray rock, low contact, no contact, ignoring, becoming unhelpful, withholding information and feelings, not providing supply for them, and doing adulting with narcissistic parents. There are lots of things you can find online for that. I hope you'll again subscribe to the channel. If you feel like a donation would be helpful, it sure would help us out to provide more free videos. Comment on these videos and we'll respond back to you. Thank you for watching today. Have a great day and be wise.